There's a reason why the chase has always been more exciting than the catch. Men aren't wired to be turned on by full access. They're driven by what they can't quite have yet. The moment you become a little less predictable, a little harder to read, something changes in the way he sees you. That mystery? It makes his imagination do the heavy lifting. It's not about playing games, it's about not giving him every detail of your inner world too soon. When you leave something to the imagination, you give him space to wonder, to fantasize, to lean in closer instead of pulling away. Think about it. What's more addictive than someone you can't completely figure out? It's not about being distant, it's about having depth he hasn't fully unlocked yet. That's what keeps him craving. And if you think that's powerful, wait until you understand how teasing without giving in drives his desire through the roof. Let's be real, most people think intimacy gets hotter the more you reveal. But the real secret? It's actually the opposite. Desire isn't just about physical closeness, it's about psychological space. It's built in the in-between moments, the things left unsaid, the parts of you that are held just out of reach. Men are visual, yes, but they're also deeply driven by curiosity. When a woman reveals everything too quickly, her thoughts, her past, her emotional availability, or her physical intentions, it might feel like connection in the moment, but it removes the sense of discovery. And for many men, discovery is the thrill. It's not about withholding love or playing cold. It's about being multi-layered, someone he wants to keep exploring. It's about the tiny pauses, the thoughtful glances, the stories you hint at but don't fully unpack right away, those details that stay tucked away just a little bit longer. That's what drives him crazy. Think of it like this. When you hand someone a gift without wrapping paper, there's no suspense. But when it's wrapped, unexpected, and beautifully presented, it builds anticipation. The same is true for intimacy. A woman who reveals herself in pieces, at her own pace, makes a man feel like he's on a journey, not just handed a destination. Mystery doesn't mean being secretive or manipulative. It's about owning your presence in a way that doesn't need to explain itself. It's when you can sit in silence and still hold his attention. It's when you smile at his question and say, "Maybe I'll tell you later," instead of rushing to share everything. That pause makes him lean forward. That moment of wonder makes him crave more. In fact, psychologists have found that anticipation creates more dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical, than the reward itself. So when you leave just a little space for him to wonder, to guess, to imagine, you're actually heightening his excitement far more than any bold move ever could. Men remember the women who made them feel something they couldn't quite explain, the ones they couldn't fully solve, because that's what made it exciting. That's what made it unforgettable. And if mystery is what opens the door to craving, then teasing is what turns up the heat. Here's something most people don't realize. Men crave the build-up far more than the obvious green light. The most unforgettable moments of intimacy aren't when everything is laid out plainly. They're when tension hangs in the air, unspoken but felt deeply. That's where teasing comes in. Not the shallow kind, but the playful, confident energy that says, "I know what you want, and I might give it to you, but not yet." Playful teasing is like emotional foreplay. It builds anticipation, sparks desire, and most importantly, keeps him coming back. When a woman playfully flirts, drops a subtle innuendo, or responds with a smirk instead of a straight answer, she's not confusing him, she's challenging him. And challenge, when done right, doesn't push a man away, it pulls him in. Teasing isn't about being mean or manipulative, it's about showing that you're not in a rush to seal the deal. You're enjoying the dance just as much as he is. And when you make it clear that you're not afraid to be playful, it tells him you're confident, in control, and fully owning your sensuality. That's powerful. Let's break it down. Imagine this. Instead of giving him a direct compliment, you raise an eyebrow and say, "That shirt almost makes you look dangerous." Instead of agreeing to plans right away, you say, convince me. These little games aren't to make him work harder, they're to make him feel something deeper. Desire thrives in contrast. When he can't predict your next move, when he has to lean in a little closer just to figure you out, that's when you become unforgettable. And here's the twist. It's not even about what you say, it's about how you say it. The tone, the pause, the look in your eyes, that's where the real teasing happens. A softly spoken "you wish" can hit harder than the most revealing outfit. It's the implied that turns into obsession. Men may say they want things straightforward, but in intimacy they're wired to crave the chase, the tension, the almost. Give him that through subtle, playful energy, and you'll stay on his mind long after the moment ends. But playful teasing is just the beginning, because what really throws his mind into overdrive is when you start doing the unexpected. Nothing keeps desire alive like unpredictability. When a woman does the unexpected, she breaks the pattern, and in doing so, she becomes unforgettable. Because here's the truth most people overlook. Routine kills attraction. When a man can predict how every conversation, every move, and every moment will unfold, his interest starts to fade, even if he still cares. But throw in a little unpredictability, suddenly he's hooked again, leaning forward, wondering what just happened and what's coming next. The unexpected doesn't have to be dramatic or loud. In fact, it's the subtle moments that hit the hardest. It's when the quiet, sweet woman suddenly becomes bold and whispers something daring in his ear. It's when she who usually lets him lead decides just once to take control, or when she pulls back, not to punish him, but because she's choosing her own space. These surprises make him see her in a new light, and that newness reignites his craving. Men don't want constant chaos, but they are wired to respond to novelty. Psychologically, the brain releases more dopamine, the feel-good chemical, when we experience something new. So when you show him a side of yourself he hasn't seen before, even if it's small, it lights him up. It shakes him out of autopilot and pulls him back into the moment with you. This could be as simple as changing your tone mid-conversation, making a bold, unexpected move, or introducing a new idea that catches him off guard. In a good way. It's the thrill of, wait, where did that come from? That's what makes a woman feel magnetic, like there's always more to discover. And let's be honest, everyone talks about being real in relationships. But real doesn't mean predictable. Real means layered. You can be soft and strong, innocent and seductive, thoughtful and a little dangerous. The moment he thinks he's figured you out, surprise him. Not to confuse him, but to remind him, you're not one-dimensional. You're not here to be placed in a box. Because the more he sees you as someone who can still surprise him, the more alive his desire becomes. And just when he thinks he knows what's next, that's your chance to take things even deeper. But here's the real twist, because sometimes what you don't say hits harder than anything you could say. Here's where most people get it completely wrong. They think being bold and explicit is what makes sex exciting. But often, the opposite is true. The most powerful tool in seduction isn't action, it's suggestion. And when a woman learns how to use this artfully, she becomes absolutely unforgettable. Why? Because what's implied lingers longer in the mind than what's made obvious. Think about it, our imagination is far more powerful than reality. When you say something without saying it, when you hint instead of declare, you're not just getting his attention, you're letting his mind do the rest. That quiet pause, that half smile, that maybe later instead of a direct yes, those are the moments that make his heartbeat quicken. Because now he's involved. He's curious. He's wondering what you meant, what's coming next, and how to get closer. Men often replay these subtle moments over and over in their minds. Not because you did something outrageous, but because you didn't. Because you left just enough on the table for him to fill in the blanks. That space you create, it becomes an invitation to chase, to think, to feel more deeply than he realizes. And suggestion isn't just about words, it's in the way you touch his arm and then pull away. It's the look you give across the room that says, "I know something you don't." It's the late night text that says, "I had a thought about you, but I'll tell you tomorrow." That's where the real intimacy lives, not in laying everything out, but in letting him experience the possibility of more. Even neuroscience backs this up. Anticipation, not the moment itself, is what triggers the biggest spikes of dopamine in the brain. That means the waiting, the wondering, the not knowing, it all makes desire stronger. So, when you learn to play in the shadows of suggestion, you're not being coy, you're building a fire that burns longer. Remember, men don't talk about the most revealing women they've been with. They talk about the ones who made them feel something they couldn't put into words. The ones who didn't need to try too hard because their silence said enough. And once you master the power of suggestion, there's one more shift that changes the game completely: setting boundaries. Not walls, not coldness, just the kind of boundaries that make him realize he's not in control of this. It might sound counterintuitive, but the more a woman holds her boundaries, the more a man desires her. Why? Because boundaries don't push him away, they make him lean in. In fact, the moment a woman shows that she won't tolerate certain behavior, that she respects herself above all, something powerful happens. She becomes high value in his eyes. And when a man sees a woman as high value, he doesn't just want her, he wants to earn her. Many women have been conditioned to believe that saying no, having standards, or pulling back might scare a man off. But here's the truth: the right man isn't scared by boundaries, he's ignited by them. Because when a woman draws a line and means it, she sends a clear signal that she won't settle, that she's not desperate.